Hello, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. All right. As you can see, we have a little bit of a new format going on here. Welcome, my name is Andrew, and this is Rocket Future, documenting and sharing the most exciting moments in spaceflight. So, just hanging out here down at Boca Chica Beach at Starbase, and we're just going to talk a little bit about what's happened here in the last couple weeks and what type of activities we can look forward ahead. And just here to answer any questions, or if anybody's got any comments or anything. And now's the time to do it. So I'm gonna try to do at least one of these a week until this thing gets off the ground. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see. So the Shard Baby says awesome 5x5. Thank you for coming, Shard. So right now we have a few different views up. First of all, let me get rid of this headline. We don't need that. We probably don't need that bottom third either. So it looks like some folks are hanging up at the orbital launch mount, working on Booster 7. Let me make sure that's a live view. There we go. Now you get a live view. So we got a lift bringing people down from the orbital launch mount, and some folks working up there. So we're going to keep a close eye on what's happening behind us. Of course, we have a full stack behind us as well. And we'll get talking. So welcome everybody, welcome everyone. So we got beautiful Booster 7 and Ship 24 still on the launch mount. We're hoping that's going to be ready to launch pretty soon here. So let's rewind a little bit. First of all, welcome in everybody. Let us know where you're watching from, and it's just it's good to see where people are watching from, different states or even countries around the world. My whole goal here is to share these experiences with folks that aren't able to get out here in person. So seeing where people are watching in from is super interesting to me. So if you don't mind sharing. But let's rewind a little bit. So on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, I got my Twitter feed here. Let's talk about what I am calling the last push to launch. So a couple weeks ago, activity really started ramping up here at Starbase, and the Booster 7 rolling to the launch site was kind of the beginning of all of that. So of course that was on January 8th. SpaceX rolled Booster 7 from, I'm realizing that's not going to work well, Booster 7 from the Starbase build site down here to the launch site. And we got some pictures of Booster 7. I've been trying to keep track of like a percentage of readiness for Starship launch. So I'll update y'all on that in a few moments here. And then, of course, we saw Ship 24 stacked on top of Booster 7. So that was quite the thing to see. We got a great opportunity to come down here at Starbase while they were lifting Ship 24 on top of Booster 7. So that was completed on January 9th. So they stacked. It looked good, looked like a good stack. It didn't look like they made much adjustments after stacking. Sometimes we see them lift and drop it back. But it was kind of a cloudy day. So it was kind of hard to see the details. So Shard Baby is watching from London, England. Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe 69, Simulation 42. Welcome. So Ship 24 got lifted onto Booster 7, another important part prior to eventually hopefully seeing this thing launch. What else do we got? Booster 9 was moved back from the launch site to the build site. So Booster 9 is a question mark at this point. What's gonna happen with Booster 9? We'll talk a little bit about that in upcoming streams, but I probably won't spend much time talking about Booster 9 now. What else do we got going on here? So then we got some intermittent road closures and full road closures scheduled, and some marine safety information bulletins, also known as a note MAR, not MAR. And these were all indications that last week there was going to be some considerable testing. The viewing conditions for testing last week were a little bit rough, but we were able to get a stream in for a brief period of time. Of course, Ship 25 rolled down to the launch site too, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on that right now. So yeah, we saw on January 17th, SpaceX not SpaceX, but a Marine Safety Information Bulletin was posted for testing on January 18th, 19th, and 20th. And basically what we saw during that window of testing was, I guess, a partial cryo test where Booster 7 got a little bit frosty towards the bottom of its methane tank and the bottom of its liquid oxygen tank. But I think it was a little bit less of an exciting test than a lot of people were expecting. But the fact that they canceled the road closures the days after that partial cryo, I assume was probably a good thing that they were able to complete what they wanted to. I'm noticing some pretty low bitrate here today. It's quite cloudy. I don't know how much that actually affects Starlink, but hopefully we're coming in all right for you. Yeah, so there was the partial cryo, and then there was 2 days of canceled road closures. So I don't know if SpaceX needed time to look over the data from those partial cryo tests, or if the teams were looking into something else. That kind of remains to be seen. But now we're here. Now this week is ahead of us, and we've seen the FCC renew a license, or actually I guess it's a modified license. And again, this is FCC, not to be confused with the FAA, the Federal Communication Commission. And this is about communication technologies that are used on Starship and the booster, telemetry, different types of communication. So we saw that come out, and it looks like they made some changes to the antenna that's being used. But again, a step in the right direction, but this does not mean anything about orbital launch. Vix, welcome. How's it going, Vix? Thanks for sharing the stream earlier, the link to the stream. That is very much appreciated. So yeah, that's what prompted me to be here today. Again, this is a change of format. This is actually not a change in format. This is just kind of something new that I'm trying to do weekly. So bear with me. It's gonna be a little bit bumpy and awkward at first, but we'll just try to get used to the format and go from there. So we've done a little bit of a recap of what happened at Starbase over the last couple weeks. Shard Baby says some buffering, but the stream is coming really stable. Could be on my end. Gotcha. It's very possible that the buffering is due to the dropouts on Starlink today, but that's all right. We'll keep pushing forward. So we've completed our review of the last couple weeks. Again, that Ship 24 lift onto Booster 7 was beautiful. And now we're here today, and we want to talk about what's coming up this upcoming week. So first and foremost, let's look at the Marine Safety Information Bulletin that was posted on January 20th. So these bulletins are usually put out to warn mariners or people in boats and ships in the area that they need to be outside of a hazard area for testing. So generally speaking, when we see these go out, that means that they're doing something with methane, and a lot of times we'll see these before static fires. Now, I don't necessarily think that a static fire is in store for tomorrow. We'll all have to wait and see what the testing is for tomorrow. But again, this was published on January 20th, and it covers January 23rd and 25 for testing. So that's Monday and Wednesday, right? Yes, that's Monday and Wednesday. So according to this bulletin, SpaceX could be doing some testing here at Starbase on Monday, and again, potentially on Wednesday. This is a pretty big hazard area, so I think a lot of people are kind of thinking along the similar lines as we were thinking last week, and that means maybe a potential wet dress rehearsal. Calzone Tyrone, welcome, Calzone. It was nice chatting with you the other night. I appreciate you dropping by the stream here today. But Calzone dropped me a message the other day, and we were chatting a little bit about space. So thanks for tuning in, Calzone. So yeah, Monday and Wednesday look like the days. That always could change. And here's the thing: we always try to bring you live footage of these tests. And Monday and Wednesday, we're going to try to do that for you. But generally speaking, when they do this type of testing, this road is closed. You can't get anywhere near Starbase. I'll show you in a couple minutes on Google Maps kind of where they close the road off. So generally speaking, I'm getting footage of these tests from Isla Blanca Park across the canal here. And the weather lately has not been good for trying to film across the canal. The visibility has been terrible. So we're just going to hope things clear up here in the next couple days. But my fingers are crossed. Starbase says a marine safety bulletin is a good sign of wet dress rehearsal this week. It's basically a road closure for the boats nearby out in the Gulf. That's a great summary of it, actually, Shard. So yeah, people are thinking potential wet dress rehearsal. I think what everybody wants to see is them to fully fuel both the booster and the ship with all of the necessary liquid oxygen and methane that would be required for launch. A wet dress rehearsal can actually go further than that as well. A lot of times, teams will kind of act as if they are on a launch day, working towards a T-0 launch attempt. But generally speaking, they'll stop just short of when they would normally launch. And that's, again, just a wet dress rehearsal of everybody practicing what they need to get right for a launch, both technically on the vehicle and procedurally and everything as well. Henriette, welcome. Thanks for tuning in, Henriette. So wet dress rehearsal is the first thing that we want to see next week. So we'll have to see if we can get that Monday, maybe even Wednesday. If not, and we'll keep an eye on road closures. Speaking of Boca Chica road closures, let's see what we have scheduled. So this is the Cameron County Texas.gov site. They publish all of the road closures for Starbase down here. Now today is the 21st. Of course, our days of interest is the 23rd and 25th. So we see that they have the way they do this is kind of funny. They'll do a partial or a primary date and alternative dates, but honestly, you can kind of ignore those for now. What we're really looking at is Monday, January 23rd, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. There's a possible closure of Highway 4, which is the road that leads to Boca Chica Beach and Starbase. Alternatively, they have Tuesday, January 24th. However, we did say just a moment ago, I'm just double checking myself here. Yeah, so this Marine Safety Bulletin says on January 23rd and 25th, a hazard area will exist in the vicinity of the SpaceX facility. I don't see January 24th on there. Again, all of this could change. They could issue another Marine Safety Information Bulletin for the 24th, or they may just use the 24th for some other testing. Again, we have live views of Full Stack Booster 7 and Ship 24. Everybody's really excited about what kind of testing we're going to see on these vehicles. But don't forget, Ship 25 is also behind me, behind the orbital tank farm that you can see behind me. And Ship 25, hypothetically, could start its testing campaign as well. So we'll have to see what happens next week. Is it just going to be Ship 724, or is it going to be Ship 25 doing anything? It could be doing cryo, could be doing static fire campaigns. We just don't know. So that's kind of the week ahead, and it could be exciting. Let's kind of zoom out a little bit and talk about what we see after this week. So let's say that they are able to complete the wet dress rehearsal on Monday or Wednesday. Again, that's a big if. At that point, SpaceX will review all of the data that they got from the wet dress rehearsal. They'll take a look at everything, temperatures, pressures. They'll look through cameras, what do they call them? Engineering cameras, looking at the vehicle to make sure everything looked all right during the testing. And they'll scrub through as much of this data as they can prior to saying, okay, we're ready for the next step. So what happens after a full wet dress rehearsal? It's kind of up in the air what the next steps will be for SpaceX. However, a lot of people are assuming that Booster 7 and Ship 24 will be destacked. They want to see Ship 24 lifted up off of Booster 7 using those chopstick arms that we see on that image on our left-hand side of the screen, and drop Ship 24 down beside, put it on a stand, and do some further testing on Booster 7 and do some modifications on Ship 24. Now, if we look closely on ship 24, let me try to zoom in for you. Okay, as you can see on the top of ship 24, it's all covered in heat shield tiles, except you can see from this vantage point about 3 hooks sticking out the top of ship 24. So one of the reasons people think that Booster 7 and ship 24 are going to be destacked prior to a launch attempt is to remove these hooks that are used to hook a crane up onto. They'll remove these hooks and cover those gaps with more heat shield tiles. That is an expected requirement prior to launch. So again, 24 and 7 destacked, fix up these panels on ship 24, and then continue a potential static fire campaign of Booster 7. We've seen, up to 14 engines static fire at this point. We've seen long duration static fire of a couple engines. Booster 7 has gone through quite the static fire campaign up to this point, but everybody does expect them to do a full 33 engine static fire. So if they're able to complete a wet dress rehearsal this week, hypothetically, I would not be surprised if we see ship 24 and Booster 7 destacked again later this week. And then maybe next week we could start looking at additional Booster 7 testing. This is all speculation. We don't know until it actually happens. But that is kind of like the earliest, you can think of that as the earliest time frame that we could be looking at. Now, if they're able to static fire Booster 7 next week, which again is not by any way guaranteed and is likely going to be a little bit later than that, then we'll have to start hearing more about a restack of ship 24 and Booster 7 and FAA launch licenses and that type of stuff, and then we can start looking at a potential launch day. Now, all of this is with a big asterisk, I guess, a footnote, if you will. At any point during any of the testing that we've just talked about, SpaceX could review the data and determine that the test didn't go well. That means that they would have to redo testing or potentially even roll one of these vehicles back to the build site to make adjustments prior to doing some more testing. That could put these timelines behind by days, weeks, or months. Realistically, something could still, knock on wood, something could still catastrophically fail during some of these tests. We don't expect that to happen. We think that SpaceX is going kind of slow and carefully at this point. But when SpaceX fully loads this vehicle, it's going to be the most fuel that's ever been loaded into a rocket ever, I'm pretty sure. The static fire will be the most thrust ever produced by a rocket, I'm pretty sure. So they're going into all of these new, not new just for this rocket, but new for rocket tests in general. So you never know what's going to happen. The launch could be a long time from now, but things are looking pretty good as of right now. The Shard Baby says, I agree. I see a D-stack coming considering they don't have a crew lift tall enough to reach the top of S-24 while it is up there. The full stack on the OLM is 137.4 meters tall from the ground. Very good point. Yeah, so it's not like they could use a lift that we see that them use a lot, like towards the base of the OLM. And actually, those things do go pretty high, but we wouldn't see one go to the top of Ship 24, I'm almost certain. So that's a great point, Shard. We expect to see that come off. I think a lot of people are expecting that SpaceX does not want to do a static fire of Booster 7 with Ship 24 on top as well. But I guess we don't really know. A lot of that is just kind of educated guesses. So if you're new to Starship and Starbase and all of this content, I do want to give you a little bit of context about where we are and what we're looking at. I know I'm kind of all over the place a little bit on these topics, but hey, we're just hanging out here at Starbase, and let's see if anything is going on the base of the OLM. It does look like we do have a lift. Some people walking around the OLM. Let me zoom out a little bit. That's actually a great view of the shielding that they've put up on the orbital launch tower. So let me go full screen here for a moment. Okay, so ignore that headline. What we're looking at here is the orbital launch mount, the orbital launch tower, and Booster 7. So the orbital launch mount is that big structure under Booster 7, and the orbital launch tower, orbital launch tower is on the right-hand side. And you can see that the bottom portion of the tower has been cladded. They're putting in some shielding and protection so that when Booster 7 static fires or eventually launches, it'll protect the equipment and just the infrastructure that is inside and around the orbital launch tower. So I don't know. I just felt like since we had a live view of that right now, I wanted to explain a little bit about what we're seeing. But again, if you're new to all this stuff, this is all happening down here at Boca Chica Beach. This is from Google Maps. And let me go into the satellite view. So you can see down here where let's see, who's beeping? Oh, it's Jess. Jess is driving by. So we can see just south of Boca Chica Beach, we have Faro Baghdad, and that is actually the beach in Mexico. And you see that long river coming from the Gulf to the west. That's the Rio Grande. That is the border between the United States and Mexico. So we're only a couple miles right now. I can tell you exactly how far we are right now. We are 3.14 miles away from the border with Mexico right now, which is really interesting. Clear measurements. And just to our north, we have the shipping channel that goes to Port of Brownsville. And we have South Padre Island, which is a pretty popular touristy beach down here in South Texas. And let's zoom out a little bit. You can see where we are in Texas compared to the rest of the country. We're pretty much as south as you can get in the United States, with the exception of some of South Florida and the Keys, at least, continental U.S. So, yeah, I just want to provide a little bit of that context for you, to give you an idea of where we are and what we're doing, just in case somebody is new to all that's happening down here. So this is the SpaceX launch facility. We're right about where that 4 is on the road. That's just about right where we're set up. Orbital tank farms right behind me, orbital launch mount, and everything. And then just up this road is the build site. So SpaceX is working on building the next set of Starship vehicles at the build site. We just recently saw them move a couple of the vehicles that were in the rocket garden and actually bring them in for breakdown. So they're going to actually get rid of those and make some space. That was Booster 8 and Ship 22. So they're always making headway down there at the build site. So I feel like that was a decent summary of what we got going on. Hey Jess, how's it going? Yeah, come say hi. All right, everybody. We have Jess here.
Where am I looking?
Right here.
Hi, everybody. The camera's right here.
Yep.
And there.
Yep, we got a couple cameras going on. So this is Jessica Kirsch. I'm sure you know Jessica.
Aw.
She is one of the most dedicated content creators down here at Starbase. That's
I don't know
for
about
sure.
that, but thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How do I sound in this nice microphone? Yeah.
So I think we got some familiar names. Shard's in here.
Shard. Hi, Shard. Senti.
Yep. Welcome.
Awesome.
So.
Calzone. Hi, everybody. Thank you for letting me come over.
Absolutely. No problem at all.
Cool. You're really doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah.
We're trying this out for the first time, this kind of format.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is so great.
So we'll
Keep
see.
doing it.
Thank you.
Everybody subscribe to his channel, follow him on Twitter, send it to your friends.
Thank you.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
For sure.
It's the only way
For
we
sure.
all can grow is grow together, right?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree anymore.
Well, I'm going to go do a photo shoot and then maybe shoot some stuff there. But
sounds good.
Good to see you, brother.
Thank you, too.
Bye, everybody.
Welcome back, by the way.
See you later. Oh, thanks so much.
All right. So we have, Senti. Welcome, Senti. Senti says, so the HPU cover has been replaced. So yeah, as you can see in that live view of the bottom of Booster 7, there is kind of an aero cover, and they were doing some work on that aero cover. I wish for the next stream, I'll have a way to like kind of draw on the portions of the image that we're talking about, but it's that piece that is sticking out on the right-hand side of the bottom of Booster 7. They were doing some work to that cover, and I don't know if it was completely replaced or not, but it very well could have been. Shard says, Jessica is there to take photos. Senti says, stream shared, and the Shard Baby says 5x5. Thanks a lot. I was noticing that our mic levels are peaking out a little bit, so let me adjust some audio levels in case we're clipping. But yeah, so that was Jessica Kirsch. Like I said, a very, very dedicated content creator down here. You can find her on Twitter at Jessica_Kirsch, Kirsh. So definitely follow Jessica if you're not already. What else is there to talk about? If anybody has any questions, please feel free to put those right in the chat there. And we'll do our best to answer those for you. We're just trying to keep on top of everything that's happening down here at Starbase, and it's an ongoing battle. But I think we're doing all right. We're doing all right. Let's see. I'm going to stand up for a moment here and just see if I see anything else interesting happening on the launch mount or tower or Ship 25. I can just make out Ship 25 behind the orbital tank farm from where I'm standing. But yeah, not a ton going on other than that lift that's up on the base of the orbital launch mount, which you have a live image of right now. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Vic says, is there a way to show your mouse over a stream instead of drawing? Unsure, but could be easier. That is a great question. I'm not entirely sure, but hey, look what I could probably do. Add text 0. I can use a 0 as a pointer. So I think this is the HPU cover right here, right? So we were looking at that. They were doing some work on that. Whether they replaced it or not, I'm not entirely sure. But it sounds like Senti has been kind of keeping up with the work they've been doing there. That's a good kind of temporary pointer for us. There's been so many people hanging out down here at Starbase lately, just kind of tourists and visitors, and it's really great to see a lot of people coming down here to check all this out in person, with their own eyes. A lot of people have been asking about when launches and all that stuff, and it's really great to see people interested in what's happening down here and just trying to get all the updates. I think this place is going to be an absolute madhouse when launch day comes. I have a feeling all of the hotels and everything are going to be booked up. I'm really excited for that day. It's going to be absolutely insane. If anybody's in the area for launch, I'm going to try to host a after launch party. So keep an eye on the Twitter for that stuff. If you're not following us on Twitter, we're at The Rocket Future. You can let me type it in the chat right now. That being said, I want to make something clear. I know there's some other groups that have done post-launch parties down here before, and if I do see that if I see those people are gonna host one, I'll probably adjust mine to a couple days after or something. I don't want to step on any toes there, and yeah, we'll see how it all goes. But that's all getting ahead of ourselves. Let's just try to see this thing launch and launch successfully. I showed you that. I am really interested by the fact that we have the 23rd and the 25th set up on the MSIB and not the 24th. Again, we could always see them issue another one for the 24th. No word of any sort of overpressure notice yet. Generally speaking, they'll send what's called an overpressure notice to residents at Boca Chica Village to let them know that during that test, they have to be aware of that test in case there's a problem with the test. That way they can be safe. We haven't heard of any rumors about those next week quite yet, but we'll keep our eyes out on that. North Coast says, what are the best places to stay in SPI? VRBO, Airbnb, or hotel? Not looking to visit for launch, but just to see Starbase. So I know I've met a few of the owners of hotels down here, and I know they would very, very much appreciate any business that they can get. This place, South Padre Island, used to be such a huge tourist spot, and it still is, and it's such a beautiful place to visit, especially when it's warm out. But some of the hotels down here definitely just need some more folks coming in to visit. So I definitely just recommend checking out various hotels down here. I don't think I have any on the top of my head right now. That being said, there are some really good Airbnbs on the island as well. I had a bunch of friends come down here in November, and we all rented out an Airbnb and had an absolute blast. So you kind of have all your normal options. Airbnb is VRBO. Is that pronounced Verbo? I haven't used it yet. I've heard about it. I guess it's an Airbnb kind of alternative. But yeah, North Coast. If you're thinking about coming down, I definitely would recommend it. You can fly into either Harlingen Airport or Brownsville Airport. There's a couple other airports that are just a little bit further away, but those are the two that most people will fly into. Each of them are about Brownsville Airport's about 20 minutes away from, or half hour away from Starbase. Harlingen Airport's probably closer to an hour away from Starbase, or maybe even a little bit more. But if your goal is just South Padre Island, either of the airports are about equidistant, so either of those airports. Plenty to see and do down here. If the bar scene is your scene, then there's a lot of bars, a lot of restaurants, some good food. Especially if there's some like absolutely insanely good Mexican food in Brownsville proper. I highly recommend checking out some of the taco places and stuff in Brownsville. Food on South Padre Island, I struggle a little bit more with to find something of real quality. There's a couple good places, but it's just a fun place to walk around on the beach, hang out, enjoy some drinks if that's your thing. Yeah, if anybody's thinking about coming down, let me know. I'm happy to show you around Starbase. These clouds are getting old, I will say. As you can see, it's quite cloudy here at Starbase today, and it's been like that for what feels like weeks. The mosquitoes are coming out. Let me grab my sweatshirt. North Coast says thanks. No problem. No problem at all. I guess while I have this full view of... Yeah, I got the full view going. So let's pan up Booster 7. Just get a good view of it. Oh, that lift seems to be lowering down. So they got some folks coming off of the launch mount. So, okay. We have... the base of Booster 7. Let me add another 0 here. Okay. We have the chines, which are these fins. You can see one fin coming off of Booster 7 there, another coming off of there. These chines, CHINES, serve multiple purposes. And now, hold on, who's beeping at? I'm kind of on like the side of the road here, so I just want to make sure that we're being safe. Those chines serve multiple purposes. I believe they use those to kind of cover some hardware that would normally just kind of be sticking outside of the Booster 7. Obviously, they are aero covers. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but they're aerodynamic surfaces as well. They don't move or anything. But again, those are chines, CHINES. Prior to them installing those chines, we would see a lot more of those covers sticking out at the bottom, kind of like on the right-hand side there. So those have helped them kind of clean up the exterior and make it more aerodynamic of the booster. You might remember Booster 3 or Booster 4 looking a lot more clumpy down there at the bottom. So it looks like some good improvements there. Going up Booster 7, we got that raceway up the side of it, which probably leads to I wonder if that's involved with the flight termination system on the booster. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, and then we're at this point where we have these vertical lines. Let me point those out to you. We got these vertical lines that go in the center of the booster there. Those are a way to reinforce that section of the booster. That is where the two domes come together. The LOX tank and the methane tank share a common dome. So those are where those two tanks come together. And they use those to reinforce that area of the vehicle because it's a little bit more... the smaller ones are called strakes. Oh, cool. Shard baby, appreciate that. The smaller ones are called strakes, the smaller chines. Yeah, so again, those are used to... these in the center here are used to reinforce the booster in that specific section. Oh, we got a PA announcement. We just had a PA announcement here at Starbase, but I couldn't quite make it out. Most of the time, it's just loud venting warnings, but we'll see. All right, continuing on Booster 7, we see the top of the vehicle again. We see some of those vertical pieces to reinforce the top of the booster, and of course, we see the grid fins. We need these grid fins to help the booster reorient itself as it's coming down through the atmosphere to land. So... oh yeah, I'm hearing some venting now, so most likely that PA announcement was for loud venting. Let me point out those. I swear I'll have something better to point things out with than a 0 next time. Okay, so that's a grid fin, that's a grid fin, that's a grid fin, and that's a grid fin. So again, those will turn and make it possible to reorient the booster when it's coming down through the atmosphere to land. Booster 7 will likely do a false landing kind of out in the Gulf. Of course, we expect in the future that these could be caught by the chopsticks on the launch tower. However, I don't believe at the moment we're expecting to see that on the first launch. I think that is pretty unlikely, but you never know. And of course, we see that sharp contrast between Booster 7 and Ship 24, so we're almost up at Ship 24. North Coast says you can also use caret dash to make an arrow. That's a good point, too. That's even better than the 0. Let me do that. Change that to that. Maybe change the color. Sure, I could change the font to something a little better as well. But that works for now. Good suggestion. I guess I don't even need the dash. Shard Baby says the OLM is 21 meters, 69 feet tall. The base of Booster 7 sits 19 meters above the ground, so the base of the ship on top of the booster is 87 meters up. The base of the ship on top of the booster is 87 meters up. So we're looking at that interface between Booster 7 and Ship 24. And this, according to Shard Baby, is 87 meters. Thank you so much for that piece of info, Shard. All right, moving up, we see Ship 24. We see those flaps, ailerons, whatever you might call them. Now, this is, of course, a very black-looking colored surface. That is because of the heat tiles. I did just notice that my bitrate went to 0 for a minute. It was probably a Starlink handoff. This, by the way, I'm going to bring back this broadcast is being brought to you through Starlink, which is kind of cool. So the broadcast is going via my Starlink dish up to Starlink, not a sponsor, satellites up in orbit, being popped around between satellites, back down to a ground station, and delivered to your home, which via regular internet, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, Ship 24 is black because of those heat shield tiles made out of ceramic, I believe, right? These mosquitoes are nuts. Slowly coming up, we see these big black arms sticking out of the launch tower. Those are part of the tower and not the ship. Those are the chopsticks that's used to lift the booster on top of the launch mount, lift the ship on top of the booster, and eventually it could be used to catch the ship and or booster. after launch. Sorry, I'm trying to deal with these mosquitoes. I might need to get some spray in a second here. And then we got the top of the ship. Again, we got those flaps up there, and we got those hooks at the top of Ship 24 that will be removed prior to orbital launch attempt. So we'll see that destacked and those removed, and then those gaps will be filled with more of these heat shield tiles. So we have successfully documented the current state of Ship 24 and Booster 7 on January 21st, 2023. And that's kind of where we're at. Talked a little bit about what happened in the last couple of weeks. We talked about where we're at right now, and we talked about what we're looking at moving forward. Shard Baby says, "You're welcome. Spent quite a lot of time measuring stage 0 and things all around Starbase last year to make some detailed drawings." That's very cool. That is awesome. We went over road closures. We went over the MSIB. So I think we've really covered everything. So I'll just hang out here for a little bit longer and hang out. If anybody has any questions, chat for a little bit, and then in just a little while we'll wrap things up. So if you're just joining us, my name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future. We document and share the most exciting moments of spaceflight. And today we're doing something new. We're down here at Starbase for what did I title today's stream? I think I titled it Starship Briefing, Weekend Starship Briefing. So that's just kind of a working title of this program that we're going to try to bring you at least weekly. I'm kind of fumbling around a little bit and all over the place, but this is the first time of trying this format, so I kind of like it, though. I think this is something I'll keep doing. Like I said, I'm going to try to do one of these every week until launch. There will be some exceptions that I won't be able to do it, but we're going to try to provide an update every week about what happened last week and what's happening in the week ahead. If you haven't caught any of our live streams before, a lot of times we will be on site here for booster and ship rollouts or rollbacks. We try to give you some great views of those activities. Recently, we've been able to show you a stream of Ship 24 being lifted by those chopsticks onto the Booster 7. We were right here for that and got a great view of that. But a lot of the testing will get footage from across the shipping channel from South Padre Island for things like static fires and cryo tests, and anything that they do road closures here for. We also do some other content, occasionally some cinematic type videos, and we're still just trying to figure out what Rocket Future means. But I think we're getting there. We're making some progress. Our community is growing. Anybody that's been hanging out with us today, I appreciate you so much. I couldn't do this without folks tuning in and watching. Again, our whole idea is to share these events with people that can't make it here in person, and just to build a community. Davis B says, "Do you think they will unstack S24 for the 33 engine static fire?" I personally think that they will. Again, I think after we see a full wet dress rehearsal, if that goes well, which could be as early as Monday or Wednesday, if that goes well, I do expect personally to see Ship 24 destacked off of Booster 7. And while those two vehicles are separate, that's when I would expect to see the 33 engine static fire. Shard Baby says the two chopstick arms span 34.5 meters each. Wow. 34.5 meters. It's really hard to tell the scale of things down here on camera, but also in person. Even though I'm right here, this thing seems a lot smaller than it really is. And I think that's just because everything is scaled at such a insane size that it's just hard to comprehend. And everything's a little bit further away than it looks, even though we're very, very close. But it's insane. It's insane how big everything is. So Davis, yeah, we answered that. I do think Ship 24 will be destacked for the 33 engine static fire. That's going to be absolutely insane. Again, I think I mentioned this earlier. Based on what I understand, I think that when Ship 20 or Booster 7 does its 33 engine static fire, depending on the thrust level, it could be the most thrust ever produced by a rocket ever, period. More than N1 even. So we really are in a time period of massive rockets. I know everybody kind of says that, but it's true. We got to see Artemis launch, SLS launch Artemis 1 mission late last year. At that time, it was the most powerful rocket that succeeded to deliver its payload to orbit or wherever. Technically, I believe the N1 was a little bit stronger, but did not succeed. It failed. So SLS currently holds the record for most powerful operational rocket. But hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, Starship will launch here pretty soon and take that crown, which will be really cool to see. I've moved down here about, I want to say 8 or 9 months ago, and I didn't see any of the ship high altitude flight tests or hop tests or any of that. I wasn't down here yet for those. I've seen plenty of other launches from other launch sites, but I've never actually seen a launch here. And like I said, I've been here for 8 or 9 months now, a point where I'm starting to feel like this, I can call this place home. And I don't think of this area as a launch site. Like, I travel to Virginia to see launches, or I travel to Florida to see launches, and I think of those places as launch sites. And the day that they actually launch Starship out of this place, it's going to completely blow my mind. It's just going to completely shatter all of my understandings of what this place is and what it can be. I just can't wait. I honestly can't wait. So I hope everything goes well over the next few weeks as SpaceX prepares to launch a full stack Starship for the first time ever. A lot of people will ask when this is going to happen, and I try as hard as I can to not speculate on dates. Sometimes I'll give a percentage, and I will give you a percentage of what I think the chances are launching by March shortly. But I'd like to tell you a little bit more about how I personally like to measure these things. It's kind of silly, but I have, I've been tracking a percentage of Starship launch readiness. So I said on January 8th that Starship was 93% ready for full stack launch. I've adjusted this up a little bit, but I think this is a good way for people to kind of see how close we are without putting a date on it. I want to say now I've bumped this up to 94.5 or 95%. And I do have this all written out about, which activities bring it further or closer or further from launch. So just because we're at 94.5% now doesn't mean that we won't be at 93% tomorrow. So that's what I like to say. That's how I like to keep people engaged in how ready we are to see a launch. Now, I will tell you what my opinions are on a launch time frame. This is all gut feeling and nothing more. I think if they do the wet dress rehearsal this week, if they Monday or Wednesday they fully load the vehicle with fuel and propellant and everything goes well, I think the chance of a 33 engine static fire by the end of February is probably 70%. And if that goes well, again, if that goes well, I think the chance of getting a launch license, restacking, and launching by the end of March, if all that goes well, is 70%. But altogether, if I step back and say including wet dress rehearsal and Starship and 33 engine static fire, all that combined, I'd say there's a 60% chance of this going off by the end of March. That's just my opinion. Davis B says, I think they should unstack and do the 33 engine static fire so they will have time to fix things and fix the tiles on the top of S24. I think they will need to do OLM maintenance after the static fire. That's very true. They will probably need to at least repave, pour concrete underneath the launch mount. And I'm sure there's going to be some more work that they need to do on the launch mount as well. They'll, of course, need to patch up those tiles on the top of Ship 24 where those hooks currently are. So I think you're onto the right thoughts there. Let me give you a zoomed-in view of the base of Ship 20 or Booster 7 again. And then, folks, we're going to be probably wrapping up in 15 minutes or less. So if you have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat now. Shard Baby says the chopsticks are too long because it looks like they're planning to catch the booster and the ship precisely where the pins are located, which is why the chopsticks at the Cape are half the length. The extra length only makes the chopsticks heavier, putting more a greater overturning force on the tower. Very true. As an engineer, I'd expect to see a launch tower with the narrower columns in the future with shorter chopsticks. I think that makes sense, and there's a lot of rumors going around about a second launch tower down here at Starbase. We'll have to see, if those rumors come to fruition or not. I might be not giving enough credit by calling them rumors, but I don't mean that in a negative way, with a negative connotation. Maybe it's better to call them, educated guesses or something along those lines. But we'll have to see. But that's a great point. If you look at the chopsticks that they're using at the Cape Canaveral or Kennedy Space Center launch site or Starbase launch tower, those arms are shorter. We still got a lift up under Booster 7, under the launch mount there, and some folks walking around the base of Booster 7. North Coast says, can you zoom on S25? Do you think it will see testing this week? That's a great question, North Coast. And unfortunately, because of the angle we have right now, I might... Hold on. Give me a second. Yes. The answer is yes. Oh, wait. But before I do that, check out the sunset. Sunset. I just noticed that. If you take a look at the left-hand side of the screen, I've actually just made it full screen. You can see the sun right above... Oh, I'm getting attacked by mosquitoes in the eyeball. The sun right above that crane there. Got a nice-looking sunset coming up. Maybe we'll hang out and see the sunset. But yeah, I can just barely see Ship 25 with this camera. I'll pan over it real quick, and then we'll come back to the sunset. So, like I said, you can barely see Ship 25 from where I'm at. Oops, let me move back for you. It's behind the orbital launch. Sorry, I need to start making nicknames for all these stuff. My brain just kind of splurts out random words until it's right. You can see Ship 25 behind the orbital tank farm, just barely. Do I think that they're going to do testing on Ship 25 this week? It's entirely possible, especially potentially on the 24th. Where there's a road closure on the 24th, but no marine safety information bulletin. So it is possible to do some work on Ship 25. I do expect SpaceX to be prioritizing the testing on Ship 24 and Booster 7, because I think they're really doing this big push towards orbital, or at least a full stack launch. I guess I don't know if we can call it orbital or not yet. But yeah, it's possible. They could be doing some testing on Ship 25 this week as well. North Coast says, cool view. North Coast says, it's hiding. Thanks, though. No problem at all. No problem at all. And if you're new here and you haven't followed us on our socials, you can find all of the links to our social medias at rocketfuture.org. Again, if you go to rocketfuture.org, you can find a link to all of our social media sites. And if you're not following the YouTube channel already, if you want to be notified about these types of streams in the future or live testing from here at Starbase, a subscribe and a like and all of that stuff you always hear us talk about goes such a long way. It really helps us reach out to more folks like you. The more people that are engaging with our content, the more it's recommended to others. So by engaging with this comment, just watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, all of that stuff, you could be helping somebody who has a passion for space find these streams and kind of discover their passion, which I think is really cool. We talked about pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. So we'll kind of slowly start wrapping up here. Again, just barely a view of that sun sticking out the clouds here. If you weren't with us earlier, I was saying that the weather here has been so cloudy and foggy. It's been hard to get the content we want. I'm gonna bring up. Davis B says the OLM looks so good with a fresh coat of paint. That is for dang sure. You can see those legs on the orbital launch mount. Those quite often look really kind of burnt up, I guess is the best way to describe it. But they've recently repainted them and they look nice and new, fresh, and it looks great. I'm gonna keep trying to. I think we're gonna delay here in a good way. I'm gonna stick with you for a bit longer and see if we can see some more colors of the sunset. Vic says, "Oh, BART stand moved back near the OLM earlier. The BART stand." About 4:20 p.m. they moved. Gotcha. Central time? Looks like we have another lift coming up. I do love watching people walk around that orbital launch mount because it really gives a good scale comparison to this booster and everything. Let me move it up a little bit. Look at those folks down there. Vix says, yep, 4:20 p.m. Central Time. Oops, sorry, I'm showing you a boring screen. All right. Vix, is that the Raptor maintenance platform? Shard asks. I'm just checking Twitter to see if we have anything exciting happening or any news. So what Vix is saying in chat is that they moved the Raptor maintenance platform closer to the OLM earlier, which would be interesting. I think the question there would be, are they going to use that platform to do some maintenance on the Raptors? Vic says, I guess BART might be lowered again soon. Oh, that's what's up there now, right? Is that true? It's kind of hard to see from this angle. A good sign of testing early this week, Shard says. BART is the platform hanging under the booster. Oh, okay, gotcha, Vix. Gotcha. I'm there now. I'm caught up. El Hungaro says, go Jaguars. Thanks for that. Do we have a lot of space fans space fans, of course. I literally just asked this chat if there's a lot of space fans in chat. Duh. Do we have a lot of sports fans in chat? That is the question. Looks like we do have some sports fans in chat. We got a conversation about sports. The maintenance platform for the Raptors is currently suspended under the booster for crew access. There is a crew lift taking workers up and down right now to the left of the middle leg. Ah, okay. Thank you, Shard. That helps draw a line between a couple dots there. That makes a lot of sense. Man, there's been so many road closures and testing recently in comparison to the first few months that I was down here that I feel like I'm relearning some of this stuff, but that sounds good to me. Shard Baby doesn't know much about sports, but he guessed rocket watching counts. Absolutely. Vic says rugby, the best sport. I knew some friends in college that played rugby. I actually did enjoy watching it. They really enjoyed it. It's definitely an active and interesting sport to watch. I would not be able to call rugby boring ever. That's for sure. I was just looking at the weather upcoming for Brownsville. And just about 10 minutes ago, the National Weather Service of Brownsville says a weak cold front is forecast to clear the region tonight, which will clear our skies and help temperatures cool off in the upper 40s to middle 50s. That sounds absolutely awesome. That is great news. Hopefully that means that these overcast clouds and fogginess that is prohibiting us from viewing a lot of the tests from Isla Park. Hopefully this is clearing up. We'll see how long it lasts. But if it lasts a couple days, let's see if it says, well, should clear our skies and help temperatures cool off forward. If this lasts a couple days, then we should be able to get some good sites of them testing Monday and Wednesday. Vix plays rugby. Wow, that's awesome, Vix. How long have you been playing rugby? The National Weather Service Brownsville account, by the way, is awesome. They really do a great job at keeping everybody informed about the weather conditions down here, and the weather and the fog and rip currents and all this stuff. They do such a good job. Here's a little bit more of an extended forecast. So about 12 hours, the National Weather Service of Brownsville posts, a cold front will move through deep South Texas in the Rio Grande Valley on Tuesday. Isolated showers will occur ahead of the frontal passage along the coast. Winds are expected to be strong on Tuesday. Temperatures are expected to be closer to seasonal for the next few days. So again, this was earlier today at 5:25 a.m. and it shows Monday being cloudy and windy, Tuesday being a little rainy, and then things clearing up Wednesday and Thursday. So I guess Monday is still a question mark of what the conditions will be like for doing a stream of testing. Wednesday should look a little bit better, though, and if we have anything later on in the week, Thursday or Friday, it looks like we'll have much better conditions. Vic says, hooray for clearing fog, bane of my life. I know, for real. North Coast says Tuesday is a hairy weather forecast, though. Yep, very good point. Just saw that here as well. Vic says, I started playing when I was 46, a little over 10 years ago. Wow, Vic, that's awesome. That's really awesome. I hope I'm not active, like, at any point in my life. Like, I am, I'm getting better. Last couple of years especially, I've been more active. But I should just, like, randomly join a rugby league or something and be more active. That's awesome. That's really cool. I've always been a little bit on the less active side, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So if you're just joining us, we did a recap of what we've seen here at Starbase in testing and road road closures and vehicle rolls over the last couple weeks. And then we talked about the week ahead, what we expect to see, and my estimates for how we're looking for an orbital launch attempt and all of that stuff. Now we're just kind of hanging out, chilling out with live views of Starbase, of course, the orbital launch mount and Booster 7. I was going to hang out to see what kind of sunset we get, but I think we're actually a little bit far from sunset. What time is sunset? Sunset today is... Oh, maybe it's happening right now. Boca Chica Beach. So actually, we might be fine to hang out for a little bit longer. 6:04. Okay, so sunset's in about 6 minutes. So yeah, we'll hang out for another 15 or 20 minutes and see what kind of sunset we get. Shard says, great news. Back when I visited Starbase in summer, it was 80 to 100 Fahrenheit all day. You had to come extra prepared. A cold front must be very refreshing. Yeah, 100%. So I was here through the summer as well, and I'll be honest with you, the heat didn't bother me that much, but I did stay inside most days until like 5 p.m. So I was able to manage. It wasn't too bad, but you're right. You really do have to prepare. I would bring a couple gallons of water with me every single time I came out here. But after that hot summer, when these cold fronts come through, it feels really good. Honestly, the weather down here has been absolutely amazing this winter. There's a couple downsides. The mosquitoes at Starbase have been really bad lately, and there was a couple days where it was genuinely cold when that huge cold front really kind of impacted the whole country. I can't even call it a cold front. It was like polar vortex or whatever you call those. But all in all, I would compare a summer in Texas, at least down here in South Texas, to be similar to like early fall or late spring where I'm originally from, up in the northeast of the country. So it's great for me. It's awesome. I love it. Even the temperature right now, I would consider the temperature right now cold after being down here for so long. What's the current temperature? Boca Chica Beach temperature. Current temperature is 64, so it's kind of cool down here. It is kind of cool down here. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Hopefully we'll get a nice sunset. Oh, my camera is going haywire. I have no control over my camera. All right, we have control. Why don't we do a little bit of a pan around here? We got some dunes going on here. We have some cars parked along Highway 4. We have a really cool camper van over there on the right-hand side, or camper in general. We get the orbital tank farm. Of course, we have Starhopper, the star of the show in every shape and form. Orbital tank farm. Ship 25 just barely peeking out behind the tank farm there. And of course, we have the full stack of Ship 24 and Booster 7. Let's actually keep going a little bit further to the right. We have some more dunes going on here. We have my Starlink mount. We have some folks parked on the beach side of Highway 4. And again, I am losing track of my camera. Back to the left. We can try to get a view of the surf here. Quite the high tide and some pretty good surf going on. here at Boca Chica Beach, Texas. Let's zoom out. I don't want to break anybody's privacy in their vehicles. And back to the booster. We're about 3 minutes from the start of sunset. I'm not sure if we're going to get much of a sunset, but we will have to wait and see. This is the top of my Jeep. How's it? Oh, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? And we got full stack. Mobile camper van, very hardcore to park out there. Absolutely. I know a few folks that park out here. They are the real deal. I would not be able to do it. I mean, I would do it for a few nights or something, but a lot of people have spent. There's been actually some creators down here that have lived in their van on, or their vehicles on Boca Chica Beach for quite a few amount of weeks or months, a couple months, prior to them getting apartments and stuff down here. So a lot of folks have put some hard time down here at Boca Chica Beach. I will take about a 5-minute commentary break. So if you're watching, I'm going to jump off of commentary here for about 5 minutes. I'm going to leave up this full view of full stack and a impending, we like that word down here a lot, impending sunset. So give me 5 minutes to just kind of stretch my legs, grab some water, and rest my voice just for a few minutes. So it is 6:04 Central Time now. I will be back around 6:10 Central Time. So in the meantime, if you think of any questions, I will answer those for you when I get back here. So let me just put up a little bit of a text here. Testing, testing. I am back. Vic says, anybody notice Marvin, the LR 11,000, lowering and raising his block a couple times earlier? What was that about? I am not sure. I didn't notice that. I did not notice that. Yeah, so I feel like earlier I was talking about the road closures which have changed a little bit. But, oh no, I hear the... Oh no, the mosquito fogger's coming. Let me, jeez. I think it's mosquito fogging. I'm gonna try to close my Jeep window though. Let me show y'all the mosquito fogging. I hope, gosh. I don't want to get all my stuff all chemical. I think it's imminent though. Panic, says Vix. North Coast says S25 flaps moved a few minutes ago. Oh, well, we can just barely make out ship 25 in this view, so I'll keep it here a little bit longer. And great news, the mosquito fogging vehicle is now going the other way. So we don't have to worry about that. I should get rid of this. We will return. There's some padding panels on the chopsticks, so the chopsticks will kind of give the booster ship a soft hug when they get caught. That's cool. Hashtag National Hugging Day. There's some padding panels on the chopsticks, so the chopsticks will kind of... That's cool. Good little facts from the Shard Baby all stream. I very much appreciate that. We're into the sunset territory at this point. So it's 6:15 now. I'm going to say at 6:30 Central Time is when we're going to wrap things up here. So about 15 minutes left for questions, comments, and all sorts of stuff like that. Shard says the bugs are really bad. Bought some mosquito net suit for the night because I heard and found out just how bad they are there. Yeah, Shard, sometimes they're real bad. Lately, it's been real bad all the time. And Marvin just slewed, says Vix. But there's been some times here in the few months, in the 8-9 months I've been down here. I want to say, excuse me, there's been a few months stretch, 2, 3, 4 months here and there, where the bugs aren't too bad at all. But at this point, they are really bad. I don't know what to do. What can I show on this bottom right hand panel here? Since we're just kind of hanging out now. I guess I could just like get rid of it. And I could make myself a little bit smaller. I could drag this over. That works. That works. So working on some exciting stuff, some content coming up on Rocket Future. We're going to keep doing videos of all the tests that are happening down here and live streams of all of the tests. We're trying to work on an interview for the channel, somebody that you may want to hear about or hear from. So we're going to be working on an interview. So we'll see if we can get that in fruition in the next couple months. North Coast says the big crane is moving. The crane near suborbital tank farm, is that true? I'll stand up for a moment and see if I can see. The vibe down here right now is just awesome. Just the colors and everything. I don't know. Everything just seems really chill right here right now. I don't see the crane. I might need to cross the street to see it. Is it heading towards 25? I guess it's kind of over in that general direction anyway. Marvin Crane X has to move out of the way for a S25, so there's another good sign for some possible double booster ship testing this week. It's behind the tank farm from your view. Makes sense, yeah. Yeah, so like Shard is saying, we could see full stack testing. We could see S25 testing. We're just not sure yet. We could see a mixture of both, which would not surprise me. We've definitely seen that happen before. Some testing on the orbital mount and suborbital mount in the same week. I almost just cut Hoppy out of view. We don't want that. Shard thinks that the crane will move towards the entrance to be the furthest away from the OLM and Ship 25 as it can be. Makes sense. I love the lighting on the orbital launch mount. Let's get zoomed in on there again. Just saw a little bit of venting coming from the lift, or somebody was vaping. One of the two. I think we got a little bit of an angle on our camera right now. There we go. That looks better. See if we can get a real tight shot under the OLM there. Definitely get some colors starting to pop on that sunset. So I'm going to zoom in on the OLM and then I'll zoom out so we get a good view of that sunset. Let's see where this lift goes. You'll notice the camera bouncing a little bit. That's the way I have the camera mounted right now. It's going to be kind of bouncing with the Jeep with some wind going on. Oh, it's kind of funny how the image is being stabilized in some areas and it's not in others. All right, now that sunset's really starting to pop. So I'm going to go full screen. Yeah, probably in like 8 minutes, 6:30. Yeah.
Should I get on the screen?
If you're just joining us, we are just kind of hanging out here at Starbase. We did a bit of an overview and review of what has been happening and will be happening here at Starbase. And now we're just kind of hanging out, enjoying the sunset, and we're just going to hang out here for a bit longer, and then we'll wrap things up. If you missed the beginning of the stream and want to recap, of course, you can always rewind or watch this later on, where we talk about the testing that Starbase, or SpaceX has been doing here at Starbase in the last couple weeks, and what is expected for the week ahead, as well as months ahead. Talked a little bit about my predictions for an orbital launch, or at least a full stack launch. And it's a gorgeous night out here, with the exception of the mosquitoes. Wow. I just stood up and actually looked at all this with my real eyes, and it is a beautiful sight tonight. I'm going to get a couple pictures with my phone. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know who's not subscribed or subscribed either.
No problem at all.
It's trying to subscribe.
Gotcha. There's so much to keep track of with that stuff, so I'm not even worried. There's probably a lot of people not subscribed to that should be. It's all good.
Well, eventually.
Oh,
I will.
awesome.
The sunset's close.
Oh my god, it's beautiful. I just got a couple of good shots of it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I feel like we're finally starting to see more momentum.
Yeah.
Catching this.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's like the best.
Yep. Wow, it's gorgeous. Don't mind me, folks. I know I'm not chatting about a bunch right now, but I'm also just kind of taking it all in and enjoying it as well. It's kind of been a while since I've been able to come down here and just hang out A lot of times when I'm down here, I am trying to film something. Huh? No, you're good. Yeah. So sometimes I like to just take a moment and try to take it all in. Not to sound like super corny, but this is a moment that I know that I'll look back on in my life with really great memories, and I want to make sure I'm enjoying it in the moment as well. Because on nights like this, it's so surreal. It's honestly impossible to describe. You just have the ocean and the waves sounding on in the background, and you got this massive rocket being built right in front of you. And you get the sounds of the orbital tank farm, folks driving up and down the road, and friends hanging out. And there's nowhere in the world like this, folks. This is the real deal. I was thinking I wouldn't like the lights that they've installed on the tower. Of course, those lights are are mandatory for FAA. And those the status lights, the green lights, those change. Those are not mandatory, I don't believe. I think it's just the white blinking lights that are mandatory. I thought I would not like those, but it really does kind of tie everything together and make this all feel real. I don't know when, but sometime in the last few months, this place turned from feeling like a backyard rocket facility to a real honest operation, and the real deal again. I keep saying that, but it's kind of nuts. And I implore you all to come down here and have this experience too. Welcome, Richard Stansbury. North Coast says this view is southwestish. I would agree with that. Let's see, that's north, that's south. Yep, southwestish is a good approximate. So we didn't get the most colorful sunset ever, but it was definitely an absolutely awesome sunset. It was just, I don't know, it was cool. It was cool. I'm gonna start doing my wrap-ups here. I do want to try one thing. The tower lights flash 40 times per minute. You got all of the cool little information there. Oh my goodness! I just got attacked by 20 mosquitoes all at once. I kind of want to try something real quick before I wrap up. You're gonna see the config for my camera for a moment. Image. I am looking for how to manually change it. Hi. You heading out?
I think so.
Cool. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Talk to you later. There's a mode that I can set the camera to that might look pretty cool, but I don't know how to do it. Oh well, we tried. I'll figure it out for next time. All right, here's the outro and all the fancy stuff. All right. Hello again, everybody. My name is Andrew. If you are just joining us, this is Rocket Future. We document and share the most exciting moments in spaceflight. Still working on that. I don't know what you would call that, catchphrase. I don't really know, but I'm still working on that. We'll get there. The purpose for this stream today was we wanted to have kind of like a technical stream where we discussed the testing events and the various events that have happened here at Starbase over the last 2 weeks, including booster rollouts, ship rollouts, rollbacks, all that good stuff, and testing. We discussed all those things, and then we were looking at the week ahead of us. We took a look at the MSIBs, the Marine Safety Information Bulletins, the road closures, and kind of theorized what we might be able to see for testing this week. We talked a little bit about there being a pretty good chance of a potential wet dress rehearsal where they load up the vehicle full of liquid oxygen and methane just like they would prior to launch. And we talked a little bit about what the road is ahead for SpaceX and how to kind of guess when a real launch might be. And then the stream switched to a kind of more casual hangout stream where we just kind of hung out here, looked at some stuff, answered some questions, and enjoyed Starbase. This was a new format for me. I haven't done this type of stream before. I enjoyed it very much. Definitely a lot of improvements to make on it. But for a first stream where we sit down here at Starbase with a table and a laptop and talk about these types of things, yeah, I don't know. It was the first one. I think it went well. We're going to definitely do this at least once a week when possible. We're going to do our best to try to do it at least once a week. So if you liked what you watched today, if you subscribe to the channel, that means the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for that. It really helps us reach more folks that are just like you that can join our community and hang out and get to see this stuff happen with your own eyes. Well, I guess through a screen. But do you see this giant bug flying around? What the heck is that? So thank you, everybody, for joining me today. Thank you, Vix. Thank you, Shard. Thank you, Henriette, Senti. Thank you, North Coast. Thank you, Davis B. Thank you, Jess, for stopping by stream. Jessica Kirsch, thank you so much. Thank you... El Hungaro. Thank you, Richard Stansbury. Thank you, everybody, so much for hanging out with us today. This was great. Monday and Wednesday, we should have streams up if they're doing live testing. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, I'm being attacked by something insanely large. I'm going to get the heck out of here. I'll leave you with live views for another minute or two while I start wrapping things up. Thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you soon. See you later. Have a good one, and peace out. Oh, and I see you, Pooh. Thank you, Pooey Who, for joining. Thank you.